Well. Look what we have here. Back again, I see. So, for those who don't know, the main initiative of this channel, at least when it first started, was ABX. My very first videos were just like 3-minute ABX clips, just to help some guys in my alliance out. But as we all know, it's grown into something completely different, right? But I realized that I haven't done an ABX video in a while. I think the last one I did, well, I did KNULL. I did KNULL when, just kind of messing around with them. I really didn't have a firm grip on his rotation or anything like that. But before that was Valkyrie. Actually, the sheriff right here wanna spear me up. So I think it's time. I think it's time for an ABX video. This video is KNULL ABX. I ran them for about 30 minutes or so. I wish I had more time. I wanted to cross that 14 million mark, but I came very close. I got about 13 million, 13.83 million, somewhere around there. And I think, he's going to be ABX meta, right? And if the cap gets increased, you're going to need him. You're going to need him. So I've kind of fine-tuned some things. I'm sure as we go, some things will continue to be fine-tuned and, progression made and things like that. But the best that I got so far is this run here, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to play them. So first and foremost, let's look at my build. I built this guy to the max. For those who haven't seen this channel before, I built this guy to the max. Anybody who has watched any of my videos, at least recently, knows the build that I have on this guy. So he's built to the max. Fully awakened ISO 8 set. He's got a CTP of Rage at the moment, and the thing about that is that I think swapping to an energy is going to be beneficial for World Boss, but for ABX, I don't know how well it's gonna work out in ABX. So I suppose you gotta think about what's important to you. Where do you want to cut your losses? Where do you want to perform better, or where do you care not to perform as well, right? So, I mean, this guy's stacked, right? He's got all types. Yes, you know me, Mr. Interruption, infamous for interrupting the videos. Breaking news here. So, I'm preparing for my next video. Little spoiler alert. KNULL, Rage or Energy, what's best for KNULL? So I did the swap, and just for poops and giggles, I just brought him back into ABX just to see what he can do. Just messing around. I haven't done any thorough testing or anything. I ran this just a couple times, and by the 2-minute mark, I'm basically at the same, I'd say, on pace of what it is with Rage. And this energy does have beatdown, but I think we all know beatdown really doesn't have much of an effect in ABX, and it's barely went off at all. It's barely went off at all because you're not running around with KNULL, right? You're in his skills the whole entire time, right? If you've played KNULL, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And trust me when I tell you, if it is going off, it's definitely not lining up with the proc. So, and I don't know his best rotation with energy, by any means, and I would imagine, right, that you spend some time on this, you can definitely fine tune this, and I would imagine he could probably do better with energy than Rage. Just from my little bit of just from popping in here and doing this, I think he could do better with energy than Rage in ABX. And don't even mind the beatdown. Like I said, it's barely going off, and if it is, it's not lining up with the proc. And actually, this is probably a badly rolled Rage, because the ignore dodge is like, I think it's like 27 or something like that. It's very low. It's very low. All his other stats are capped, but take that into consideration. So he can perform. I believe I said in the video before that energy is going to be worse. I don't know. I think it might actually be better, ladies and gentlemen. All right, back to your usual broadcast. All types of tools and tricks in his kit. He's got accumulation, which is really important on his forward skill, and what's really cool is that it's for 12 seconds on a 9-second cooldown. That's amazing. And he's got, attack. He's got all these buffs on his skills. He's got a 35% all attack, all defense. Speed, crit rate. So you don't necessarily need to have his crit rate maxed out, because you're popping that fifth. You're hitting that fifth basically every time it's off cooldown. The effects on 3 really don't matter, right? The only thing that really matters is, right, for silencing the beast or canceling the roar, he has silence and he has paralysis. He has paralysis on 4 different skills. So you shouldn't, it's Paralyze season right now. You shouldn't have a problem with that. He doesn't have burn though, so you may have to swap somebody in for burn, just to cancel the roar. We'll figure that out once we get there, what the best situation is, because Dormammu has burn, Thanos has burn, Loki has burn, and they all perform pretty well in ABX. I think we all figured out and we uncovered that Loki is better than he's better than all 3 of them, right? He's the best out of the 3 of them. Null obviously is better than the 4 of them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do this. So I'm actually going to, so I have my run pre-recorded. That's the best way to do ABX, because sometimes you're just you're sitting there for what, half an hour, right, doing runs, and I could have the camera on, and it's just not a pretty sight. And we're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way. I pre-record the run and then I kind of talk through it as the run's going, and this way I can give better direction, right? Because if I'm trying to talk to you while doing an ABX run, it's not going to work out so well. But what I will do is I'm going to, because he's a little tricky. His play style is very unique in terms of like what you can get away with. Like when to hit his skills and where the proc's at and things like that. So I did run with this team. I didn't run with the team that you would actually use for Universal Villain. I ran with this team, but the rotation's going to be the same. It's all going to be the same. Nothing really changes in terms of that. Like I said, the only thing that's going to change is burn season. Burn season, you're going to have to swap somebody in, and I will make an updated video once we get there. Okay, so now I start off with 4, cancel 3 right away into the 5. And then once he slashes, you go into the 2, right? So you get that timing right. And then basically you hold on 2 until 4 comes off cooldown, and then back into the 5, hit the 2, and then when you have like 3 to 2 seconds on the proc, see, he interrupted me there, but basically you have 2 to 3 seconds left on your 4 skill, you want to hit that. You want to hit the tier 3. And then now for this rotation, because he keeps interrupting me. Okay, I'm going to pause it. So for this rotation, because the proc is running long, right? The proc is running long. Actually, this isn't a really good example. Let me try this again. Let me try this again. So it's almost like on an every other rotation where you're going to do something like this. Okay, you're going to do 4 and into the 5, right? Wait for the slash, and then 2. Okay, and then like say right here, if I had my tier 3 up, you want to wait for the proc to be. I'm more focused on my 4, on the cooldown of my 4. So if it's at like 3 or 2, that's when I hit the tier 3. But you kind of want that to line up with like about 2 to 1 seconds left on your rage proc. And so certain rotations you're going to be able to, so basically like the 5th, like the slash on the 5th will activate the proc, and then you go into the 2, and then once your cooldown or your rage proc line up, that's when you hit the tier 3. But there'll be some rotations where you're hitting the 4 in the 5 when there's about you know, 2 seconds, 2 to 1 seconds left on the proc. So then you want to go straight into the tier 3, right? I hope that makes sense. You'll see it in the run. Let me see if I can demonstrate it here. So going back into the 4, into the 5. Okay, now here, because how much time's left on the proc, I'm gonna hold the tier 3, right? Just for a second, maybe until like there's like 1 second left on it. It's cutting it close right here, as a matter of fact. So basically, when there's like 3 seconds left on your 4, that's when you can go ahead and into the tier 3. And then once he does that slash, 4 into the 5, slash, and then back into the 2. Okay, and I feel like, you know, like out of all the runs that I did, you know, there were times that I thought the proc was like way off, but I ended up being in the same vicinity of like, you know, over 13 million, like, you know, like 13 and a quarter, I think I ended up. So, you know, it dropped my score maybe about 500,000 points or so. So, you know, depending on where the cap gets raised, depending on, you know, your account, your build, where the cap gets raised, that might not, you know, you might not have to run it a bunch of times to get there, is what I'm saying. You have some wiggle room with KNULL. So let's continue going here. Okay, so now where the proc is here, now I can go ahead and go straight into the tier 3, cancel the 3 into the 2, right? Okay, you see that? You see how that's working out? And then back into the 4, into the 5, and then things just kind of line up again real nice, right? You get all that damage, you know, everything's lining up on the 2. I get interrupted. That usually doesn't happen too often, the interruption. Okay, so let me exit out of here. Now, for anybody who isn't familiar with, you know, my channel, you know, I've showed my cards a bunch of times, but I got yelled at in the past for not showing my cards on a certain video. So I have very good cards, not gonna lie. I have currently 126.6 physical attack, right? So that's one of the reasons why I'm able to score so high. But still, even if you don't have any crafted cards, the fact that I'm able to score this high, you can definitely score, you know, well over cap, even with the supervillain team, right? The universal supervillain team, you should be able to. Like, if I'm able to score, you know, just about 14 million, like, you know, you should be able to score, you know, half that with, you know, with way less on your account. Way less on your account, even with the universal supervillain team, right? So so there's that. And let's queue up this run. Try to keep these ABX videos on the shorter side here, right? Usually people want to get straight to the point and just want to see the run, but I feel like KNULL definitely deserves a little explanation. And you know, so he kind of does have a set rotation. I'm not going to set in stone like his rotation. I'm going to give you like a general idea of, you know, just the flow of it, right? So you should be able to pick it up just from watching the video here. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. And bada bing, bada broomstick. Yeah, so this run wasn't much of an outlier, like I said. Yeah, I was pretty much in this vicinity, you know, all my runs. So that's why I feel like I could definitely go a bit higher. So here, see, I go back in the 2 because, you know, the proc is where it's at. Now I had about, you know, 3 to 2 seconds left on the 4 skill. Then I go into the 4, into the 5, into the 2, and you want all that damage on the end of the tier 3. So yeah, see, I hold the tier 3 there. Now I go into it. Like I said, I had about 3 to 2 seconds left on the 4 skill. Back into it, back into the 2, and you want to try to get the beginning of 5 and the 2 inside the proc, and then obviously the just like the beginning and the end of your tier 3. because tier 3 animation, so it's so long. I think he's got to have one of like the longest tier 3 animations, right? But yeah, you kind of have a little bit of an issue getting interrupted by the beast, a little bit. And yeah, I feel like there are different variations of rotations you can do with KNULL and get general, in the same general area as far as your score. But you see, I capped, with in half the time, with basically 1 minute and 30 seconds left. So yeah, if I could do it with that, you should be able to get 7 million with much less. So yeah, like I said, I think the most important thing is you always want to be hitting 4 and 5 basically as soon as they're off cooldown. That's one thing I learned. I'm not sure if I'm exactly doing it in this run. I think I am for the most part, but that's one thing that I picked up as I went. You basically want to just as soon as they're off cooldown, you basically want to do it. As long as your procs in generally a good area, right? You don't want to be hitting it like when there's like 3 seconds on your proc. But even then, like there were runs where I was doing that and I still came up, around 13 million. So I think there's just a lot of damage spread out on KNULL skills where, like I said, you can flip flop and still be okay. So yeah, I suppose I could throw up a rotation. There is a rotation, obviously, and I'll throw that up I'll put it in the description, right? Maybe I'll even I'll throw it up on the screen here. All right, so you saw it, guys. You saw it. Almost 14 million with KNULL. I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be using them for ABX. So that's one of the reasons. So I'm a little hesitant to actually put energy on him. I'm a little hesitant because, if that cap gets raised, right? If the cap gets raised and, sorry guys, I don't know what that is. Okay, so if the cap gets raised and I have energy on him and he doesn't perform as well, that might be a little bit of a problem, right? I might be swapping that energy off for rage again. But I don't know. I've kind of lost a little bit of motivation for ABX just because, so many people are capping, right? There's like 300 MVPs. And so it's just, I liked it when, not everybody was capping and it was competitive, right? You actually needed to bring your A game and you needed to bring a really good build in order to, place, at least in the top, 100. But all right, there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. So you better stay tuned, you stay breezy, but most of all, you stay safe out there.